You may be lucky enough to have a beautiful, intact, healthy family, or you may have never had children. And in that case, you might think, well, I don't know if this episode's for me, but I'm going to challenge you that there are going to be connections that you're going to find interesting and helpful to understand and maybe connect with in ways you didn't imagine. And also, maybe there's someone that you're going to meet that this interview is going to prepare you to understand and support in a more beautiful way than you may have before you heard it. Because today I'm going to interview Sally Harris. She's an international speaker and advocate in the realm of family dynamics, estrangement, self-care, and personal responsibility. She hosts the Sally Harris YouTube channel, which has over 1.5 million views, over 24,000 subscribers. She's been featured as a guest on so many prominent shows like Families Divided TV, the Just an American radio show, and Watching America. She's been an estrangement expert on ABC's Tamron Hall show and also the Dr. Phil show. Heard of him? Her valuable contributions to these platforms have solidified her status as a go-to expert in the field of family dynamics and estrangement. And I think you're going to find what she shares so interesting and healing to understand it and hopeful. And I think you're going to enjoy this episode. Here at Butterfly Days, we try really hard to cover a lot of issues and to provide you with real talk and honest assessment, because there's a lot of shame around these issues, and we want to see what we can do to diffuse that. So join me as we go forward. Welcome to my realm. I'm Tami Jorden, and this is Butterfly Days, the podcast that proves you're not past your prime. You're living in it right now, because women don't have expiration dates. Butterfly Days is a celebration of the extraordinary potential of Gen X and Boomer women. Throughout history, women have shared wisdom to uplift and empower one another. And you're about to learn hard-earned wisdom and best-kept secrets from interesting, inspiring women. So if you're ready to embrace your butterfly season with confidence, find joy in the present, and create a legacy that matters, you're in the right place. No more holding back. Let's spread our wings now. Here we go. Welcome to my realm. This is Tami Jorden, and today, as you know, we have Sally Harris with us to talk about adult children estrangement. She's an expert in this matter, as I've told you about earlier. She is a beautiful light of a human, and I'm so excited for her to share with us what she knows and what her wisdom is, so that we could use it for ourselves, or maybe even more importantly, to bless other people. So you may know somebody who's going to need this. Listen up. Hi, Sally. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. I'm fascinated by the work you do, but it makes me wonder, how did you come to do this work?
Nothing I had planned, that is for sure. Most good things aren't, right?
Right.
So for me, I went through estrangement with my own daughter. And so for over a decade, while her life spiraled out of control, so did mine. So we were walking these two individual paths before we were, spoiler alert, we reconciled, thank God. And so everything is good at the end, so don't need to wonder about that. But it really, that's how it got started. God just gave me this platform, and has just been, it's such an honor to work with so many women.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. So I know that you have a website, you have coaching practice, and you have group and individual coaching. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is amazing. So, and your website is huge. And I have been through a number of the videos. I find them fantastic. I don't even have family estrangement, and I learned so much. So I definitely encourage those of you who have interest to go check it out. She is on YouTube at, what are we, Coach Sally Harris? Is that correct?
Sally Harris Coach. Yes.
Sally Harris Coach. So check that out. So if there are people, because you know what? As a mom, the level of pain and shame, I think, that must go with, because we all sort of start with, we all wanted babies, and most of us, right? We wanted the family. It was going to be beautiful. It was going to be wonderful. And then to have it not look like the Rockwell painting, so painful, so shameful. Talk to me about understanding that.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think what happens is we have this unrealistic ideal that it's going to be so perfect because when that's our responsibility is to bring them home, feed them, make sure they're safe. It's 100% our responsibility. Everything that happens, right? Like we're responsible for their care. But then they grow up. And what most moms do is we forget that there comes a time, there should come a time for many of us, it didn't happen that way, but there comes a time where we have to start to take a step back and give
Yeah.
them their independence, let them make their own choices. They may not make the same choices you made. And
Mm.
that's the hardest part. And so that's where so many moms walk into all this shame and all of that. When in reality, it's they just need to learn to let go. And
Wow.
honestly, for me, if looking back, if I would have started to let go a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
I'm not saying none of this would have happened. I don't know what would have happened, but that's not something I did a really good job at.
Yeah. You know, I swear to you, motherhood is the hardest gig, and maybe fatherhood too. I don't mean to diminish that, but we're talking about mothers. So motherhood is the toughest gig because you have to be all hands on deck, everything for, especially when they're very small, everything for the needs of someone who is completely dependent. And you get used to it and you develop some mad skills and you get, so adept at it. And the whole point of doing all that is so that you can take your hands back off the wheel. It's really difficult. And part of it is it becomes part of your identity. You're a mom, and to find that balance of raising them to fly.
Mhm.
I had a friend once, I had a daughter going through a tough time and she was 16 and he said to me, she has her own path, Tammy. And I thought, she's 16, she doesn't have a path. And he said, did you? Oh, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. And just starting from that place. So, do you think that estrangements, some of the strongest things that you need to share and teach come from moms actually needing to manage themselves, maybe as much as needing to adjust to the estrangement situation?
100%. Absolutely. That is really my motto is I serve moms who are wanting to do that work. The moms that are not willing to take a look at themselves, and I in no way am I saying this is all their fault. My
Hmm.
situation was not my fault. My daughter wasn't even blaming me. Sure, there were things
Hmm.
that went sideways, and in fact, I
Yeah.
just got off one of my retreats just a few days ago, and she spoke for the first time.
Oh, what
It
an
was
honor.
beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And it's one of those things where moms, we have to look to see, first of all, what is our reactions? Have we let go? Are we still trying to manage their life? Maybe they're married, maybe they have kids of their own, or maybe they're just in college trying to find their way. Like you mentioned, it could be any of the above, but we need to take a look at who have you become because your identity is usually just a mom. You might have a career too, but at the end of the day, it's like kind of the whole empty nest syndrome too for moms. Even if you're not
Yeah.
estranged, but all of a sudden you're empty, your house is empty,
Hmm.
they don't know what to do
Yeah.
with themselves. And
Yeah. There's
I
a
lost,
grief.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of grief, so when you have an estrangement, that is the ambiguous grief where people aren't sending you meals, people aren't always checking in on you. It's the silent
Man,
grief. It's the silent grief. Yeah.
yeah, that is so the truth. And I think there's a certain shame when your child doesn't, and when it feels like they don't want you.
Mhm.
I think there's a certain shame in that, like, I failed as a mother, even if well, I would think 2 ways. If you know that you technically didn't do anything that would merit that level of a response, or if God help you, you had a life that had some bumps, you maybe made some bad choices, and now you're worried that that's gonna cost you forever the thing that you love the most, the one
Right.
that you love, you know?
Right. And that is where there are a lot of times where even the moms who've made some big mistakes, there's always hope. There's always
Yeah,
hope. I still see families reconcile. Mine was 10 years from start to finish,
that's
from the
amazing.
time we had a teenager acting out, trying to
Yeah.
do all the things to help her. Fast forward to when she actually came back to the family was 10 years. Now,
Wow.
that's not everybody's case, thank God.
Yeah. But I think it's probably not uncommon.
It's not, but it all depends on the age that it starts, and it also depends on the influences your children have. Could be a spouse,
Yeah.
could be friends, social media. You know,
Oh,
there's
wow. Yeah. Forgive me if this is impolite to ask, but I'm going to ask honest questions that I think our audience might wonder also.
right.
What I wonder is a significant portion of estrangement at least touching on drug issues? Is there substance abuse at play, do you think, often, or is that common?
It's very common. It's very common. Mental health issues, addiction.
Mm,
I mean, those are all like the addiction is a band-aid. I ended up becoming an alcoholic during this time she was gone because
mm,
I didn't know how to handle it. And that's
yeah.
another reason when you ask me why I do what I do, is I didn't have anybody guiding me. I was floundering like a fish. I had no clue what I was doing. I did everything wrong. And so now I get to fast track these moms to not do what I did and to take better care of themselves and have a community. And that's really, I mean, that's another reason I do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you actually facilitate community so that if women are struggling, they don't feel alone any longer.
Right. Yeah. They do not need to
Oh,
walk
that's
this
beautiful.
this path by themselves. You know, God, we're not supposed to walk through life alone, but you go through the hardest season of your life and you're ashamed or embarrassed to tell anyone because
Yeah.
you feel guilt and shame that and you're isolating, that is going to be a fast track into the pit.
Yeah. Way into the pit. I love it because you talked about too that if you love without limits, it becomes enabling.
Mhm.
It just does. Can you speak to that a little bit to maybe to frame it for some people who think, oh, the role of a mother is to be completely without limits. But what would
Mhm.
you say to that?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of ways we can enable. A common one is
Mm,
financially, obviously. That's what everybody thinks of right away. Is, oh, I'm paying for everything. I'm paying their bills. I'm supporting them. I have tons of clients whose kids will go off to college, go
hmm
try to find their way.
Yeah.
They won't talk about or they won't contact mom and dad. You know, they're like kind of walking away, but yet mom and dad are still paying for all this tuition. So that's a
mm,
fine line that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's that, but there's also the emotional enabling where
Mm,
you're physically taking care of all their needs. You're applying for jobs for them, right? You are directing them in every path. These kids don't know how to make decisions. They don't
yeah.
know how to do function just in some basic ways, some of them.
Yeah. I've had college professors tell me that too.
Okay.
Parents who call college professors or who call the university and ask for certain things to be set up for their kid, an adult child.
Yeah. And
Sorry, I
the thing
interrupted you.
is they do it out of love. They're
Yes.
doing it out of love. They feel like they should be doing it. They're not doing it because they don't think it's the right thing to do. In their mind, it's that control piece. And the biggest thing is
hmm
the more you do that, so even for your audience, maybe they have teenagers, start
hmm
loosening the reins a little bit. Stop controlling their decisions and ask them what they think because some of these kids don't even know how to think for themselves.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a great point.
that starts this really rough cycle. And then you fast
hmm
forward 10 years and a lot of parents will wonder, well, what happened? Well, they
Yeah.
haven't had to make any decisions. They don't really know how because they relied on you for everything. I'm not saying we don't help our kids. There's a very distinct line between helping and enabling.
100%. And, I think part of it in my own journey with my kids was just realizing that I can't fix what's not mine.
Mhm.
Like that's actually to what is it? The is it the chicken? Is it chicken or butterflies? But something if you when it's trying to get out of the cocoon or the eggshell or whatever, if you help it, you actually cripple it because it needs the process of coming out of it in order to have the strength to live.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's a great analogy. It really does. It's true for humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's important that our kids face adversity, have to critically think about situations and about modernity, the issues that come up. And if they do it under your watch,
Mhm.
you can, have input and make sure that you see those systems in place. Sometimes I think there has not been with this generation where, because I guess in the 70s is when we turned parenting into a verb. It was not before that. You just did, young lady, right? It was more along those lines. But the the there hasn't been an emphasis on creating children who are fully capable
Mhm.
and seeing that as a core part of your mission is to make sure that they are capable in the world
Right. Absolutely.
independently.
Right.
Fostering independence hasn't been pushed in a while.
Right. Well, and there's so many influences now that, the other generation didn't have. There's, like we mentioned earlier, social media. Our kids are being inundated on TikTok and Instagram,
Mm.
hashtag toxic parenting. So they're being guided to cut off their family. If the family doesn't agree with everything in their life, instead of agreeing to disagree, which is how I was raised, right? We didn't agree on everything, but I
Yeah.
wasn't going to walk
No.
away from my parents. It just wasn't as common back then. Now, I am not speaking to the family or the kids who have been abused in some way. That is a totally
Yeah,
different story. And
of
I
course.
understand that there's times where that happens. But for the most part, the majority of the cases that I see, it really is. It's this influence. And that's also a spiritual influence. The enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy our relationships. That's his number one job.
Mm, mm. This is, I mean, it's just terrible. But I think about that with our kids that healing is not our assignment. They have to be able to figure out the path to healing themselves. It's not always easy, but we did it. And
Right.
I wonder why we don't seem to have as much faith in them that they can come out well
And that's the
without our fingers in it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that moms struggle with is the sense of control that they really don't have. And so that's why they enable, and that's why there's so much codependency is because they're still so involved or they become the motherly role is like their only identity, like we said earlier.
Oh,
All
yeah.
of these things, and that's what pushes them into this. They think they have the sense of control over their children's life, and they may have, but then they get married. And then now all of a sudden they have a toxic daughter-in-law, son-in-law who's, hey, wait a minute, this is not okay. And so then all of a sudden then they lose their grandchildren. This is why it's so important to take some of this information when
Wow.
your kids are young. Now, again, we don't
Yeah.
have control over who they marry. We don't have control. I've seen a lot of women who are trying to control their career choices, who they marry, all of that. Like, we need to be their cheerleader now, not their coach. Like support them, encourage them in life. Does it mean you're going to agree? No.
No.
And there's going to be some really big
Cheerleader, not
times. Yeah.
coach. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah. Boy, that's great. And it's funny because when we said we're going to talk about adult child estrangement, I thought we were going to focus heavily. I thought what you would bring to the table is talking about kids and the choices that they're making and required. They may or may not be wanting to have connection. But kind of what I love in what you're saying is there is that aspect, of course, but you're saying you're talking to moms and that moms still have power to shift the dynamics from their end and maybe not control the outcome, but at least have more control over their part of the outcome, right?
And then it's funny how God works, because my daughter was just talking about this at the retreat, about how I was a very needy mom. I wanted to be so involved in my kids' lives. If I could go back, I would change a lot of things. But it was never one of those things that she's like, you did this, you did this, you did this. I didn't get that. Some moms get this laundry list of all the things you did wrong, right? I didn't get that, but she walked away. And this is the biggest thing, is moms need to remember that majority of the time, not always, but I see it over and over again. And this was my story too. This had more to do with her. This had more to do with my daughter than it did me.
Wow. So if one of the strongest paths to some degree of healthiness, it's not a promise of a reunion promise here, but a promise to be able to at least live during whatever period in a healthy, at least semi-fulfilled way, is what I understand you to be saying, is that you must look at how you're mothering, why you're mothering the way that you are, and get honest with yourself about that, and honest about what you really want, and about how you view control.
Yeah.
Because if you think you can control another person, you are already on a slippery slope. And boy,
Yeah.
that is really hard with kids. I get that.
Yeah.
But you can only control you. What is it? Viktor Frankl said that he survived the concentration camps. He founded logotherapy. And he said that the thing that he learned from the camps is that the greatest human freedom, and in the end, the only human freedom, is to choose your own response in any given set of circumstances.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's what I hear you saying is moms, and probably dads, but we're talking about moms must choose different responses in order to find healing and wholeness and a personal path through.
Absolutely. So the responses versus reacting. We always react. So the response also includes, are you giving unsolicited advice?
Ooh.
Our kids hate unsolicited advice. So I have learned through all of this, and I still use this with all three of my kids now, is if they call me and they start saying something, I'm like, okay, do you want me to just listen, or were you looking for advice? And depending on the kid, I'll get a different answer, which is totally fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I can pretty much call it, right? But
Yeah.
it shows that I respect them. It
Yeah.
shows that I'm not trying to get overly involved, but yet they know I'm there if they need me involved, right? As a mom.
Yeah. That's beautiful, is to have that appropriate boundary and to figure it out for yourself.
Right.
You mentioned in one of the videos I listened to, it talked about a cycle of rejection, and I wasn't clear what that means. What is the cycle of rejection in the dynamic?
Yeah, there's so many cycles, but the rejection would be more like, so some of these moms are dealing with rejection. The kids are fully estranged, or they'll put their, toe into the family again for a second, and then they leave again, and the mom is heartbroken all over again. So
Yes.
somebody has any cycle that they're on, regardless of what it is, whether they're walking on eggshells, it's rejection, whichever one it is, somebody's got to jump off, because otherwise it's never going to end. Because either you're reacting, like we just said, you're not responding, you're reacting, or you're just getting hurt over and over and over again. And so it's time for you have to take a step back. And this is where I love, like when I work with moms one-on-one, I ask them, hey, send me some text messages, send me emails, send me whatever communication you have with them. I get to see how these kids are talking to their mom, and I get to see how mom's responding. That's gold. That's a gold mine for me to be able to help them.
Why?
because I could very quickly see, okay, so this definitely should not have been said. You're definitely not in a response mode. You're reacting. You're matching their emotion. If the child's being disrespectful and you're giving it right back, like that's not going to solve this problem. Here you are on this cycle again, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
teaching moms how to communicate, and for the
Mm-hmm.
moms who are fully estranged, I get to teach them how to communicate. And I tell them, practice with your spouse, practice with your other kids, practice with your friends. You don't have to
Yeah.
wait until they come home, because now they come back. You're not the same person. The things
Mm-mm.
that irritated them, the things that caused part of the riff or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
know my daughter mentioned, she didn't even know she was gone for so long. She didn't even know that I had started drinking. So by the
Oh,
time she found
wow.
out, like, I was in my healing journey, but she had no idea that it affected me that way. And I
Oh.
can promise you, had she come back while I was in the pit, as I say,
Mm-hmm.
she'd have turned around and walked back out, because
Yeah.
I would not have spoke healthy. Wasn't healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's like, we have to be able to take care of ourselves, and they need to see a strong mom who can stand on her own 2 feet and is not needy.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
And that's so important. So when you are able to hear or read the communication, you can see language
Mhm.
and patterns
Mhm.
that inadvertently do not serve certainly reconciliation, but healing or healthy exchange.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I love that. And you also said that surrender is not weakness. What do that mean?
Mm. Well, for me, it's surrendering to God, because we've got to be able to
Mm,
surrender this to Him, because I promise you, He's the only one that could fix this.
yeah,
You know, I had
yeah.
I had a miracle moment for my sobriety. I know that doesn't happen in every single person's case, but for me, it did. And my
Mm,
daughter has had a full restoration in so many areas of her life. And
mm,
if we don't surrender, we lose hope, right?
yeah. To at least acknowledge something is greater than we are. Yeah. You may not know who controls the universe. There are women listening to this, and they're probably thinking, well, I don't know who controls the universe. But I think what you're trying to say is what you really need to be clear on is that it's not you.
It's definitely
And
not going to be
then
you.
you have room to find something richer. Yeah.
And even here on earth, I always tell people, as mom, we think, oh, we can fix it. That's why so many moms continue to try to fix, is because
Sure.
I've gone down this whole list. I've done everything I can think of, but it's
Hmm.
nothing shifted. I was like, that's because it's not going to be you. God's going to use somebody else.
Oh,
He's going to use someone else. It might be someone you know, might be someone you don't know.
yeah. I had chills everywhere on that. That it's okay not to be the one that cracks the code for your kid. That you can still be a great mom, love them passionately, and maybe not have the answer, but be able to hold space
Right.
in the belief that, that God can help them. Somebody said to me once something, and I loved it so much, and I've really clung to it. They said, my kids are going through a hard spell, and they said, God loves your kids even more than you do. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's also one of those small things that shifts your ability to see, even if I'm not fully in control, we may still be okay.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to have room to hope, I think. And one thing that you said, and I don't need it anymore. My children are older, but I think if I had heard this during some of the tougher times of my parenting, it would have been gold to me. You said, silence does not mean that you are forgotten.
Mhm. Yeah, on both sides, right? There's comes a time where, especially if there's a lot of disrespect, or if the child has said, hey, I need a break, which is very common these days.
Hmm.
It's almost verbatim what they say. And whether it's 3 months, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year, this is what's happening. And silence does not mean you're forgotten. I know. It's hard to even fathom until you've gone through it.
How did we get to a place where kids don't understand that relationships don't always meet your every expectation? I mean, did we do that? Or I find myself bumfuzzled over that, which is the technical term.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes
That's
back to,
crazy. Is that being supported online? This I
oh
need a
yeah,
break?
yes, very much
I
so.
mean, listen, if
And
you're experiencing genuine abuse, the break can be
yeah,
a really important thing. I don't want to take that from anybody where they're in a
100%.
genuine abuse cycle. That can be physical, mental, psychological, whatever. But
Yeah,
short of that, do you really need a break?
right, right. And it's, sometimes when people want to step away and not see each other as often and be like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this." And what's interesting is a lot of times when kids will walk away, I'll find out later that the months leading up to them walking away, they've tried to tell something to mom. They've tried to say,
Um,
"You're getting too involved in my business. You're trying to run my life." Blah blah blah, whatever it is.
yes.
But we
And
don't want
that's
to hear it.
valid.
That's valid. We
Yeah.
don't want to hear it. But if that's what I want moms to be able to just open their ears, just what your kids say, even though the things that hurt us the most that they tell us, to me, are gold nuggets. I'm like,
Yeah.
whenever someone will tell me something like that, I'm like, "Oh, this is so good." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "This is
Yeah.
information, girl. This is information that you need because there's
This is intel.
yep, total intel and what you need to get the relationship back on track."
Yeah. Yeah. And if you just keep saving them, how are they going to learn?
Mhm.
I think a lot about that dynamic about what does it mean to believe in somebody and how does that empower them? Especially, I mean, think about it. If your mom believes that you're capable, that's rocket fuel.
Mhm.
You think of I just think of like a bunch of athletes that I've recently heard, and they were talking about how their mother believed in them when nobody else did.
Yeah.
And how important that is for us as mothers to make sure that we have that in our mix
Right.
for our children, in particular if we didn't have it in our own life.
Yeah. And that's the big thing too, is I just want to mention. So if there's any moms listening that are critical, because maybe your mom was critical to you,
Yes.
take note of that and do whatever work you need to do for that, because that generational spirits, all of these things, they're very real. They're so real. For me, I
Yeah.
had I had generational alcoholism and suicide.
Hmm.
These are the
Oh,
two
wow.
things that I broke. It's like it ends with me. It's not going past me.
I
I,
love that. You know, that is something that I just feel like that there's somebody listening to this podcast right now that needed to hear you say that. Will you say it again about your thoughts about how it ends with you?
we all of our families, if you look back to our childhood, and then even if you're able to think back to even grandma, you may have seen
Hmm.
things or heard things, and then you know how your parents were. I know my parents parented out of what they had. So for
Hmm.
example,
Of
my
course.
mom lost her father to suicide when she was 12. So here she is, the youngest. The other kids are already gone. She had no help emotionally. She had to get through it on her own. And then my grandma had a nervous breakdown. So here she is all by herself. And then I wondered why my mom was never emotionally available for me, right? It took me a hot second to figure it out. But once I realized, okay, I don't, I don't hate my mom for it. My mom's gone
No.
now. And, but I understand, even though I didn't like that part of our relationship,
Yeah.
I knew she loved
Yeah.
me. She gave me what she
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
And so, but these things need to end with us, right? So we all take the things that we loved about our childhood and the things that we didn't, and we try to switch it for our own kids. I
Yeah.
think I think every mother does that, you know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get the hugs and stuff, so I'm gonna give my kids lots of hugs, whatever that is.
Yeah.
No one told me they love me. I don't tell my kids I love them all the time, like whatever it is. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, the stuff that is haunting your family, because we all have them. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it was alcoholism and suicide attempts, and I
And
attempted
suicide.
suicide
Yeah.
from the time I was 16 years old,
Mm.
many times throughout my
Mm.
life. And this last
So
time,
sorry.
God's just cured all of that. But the last time,
Good.
the last time was when my daughter was gone. The pain was so
Oh,
great. But I just want to remind people that no pain is too great. No pain is too great. Like, you are needed, you have a purpose, and God has a plan for your life.
oh, I
But this
love
is where
that.
we do the work.
Yeah.
We do the work, and that's where
Yeah.
it ends with us. It is not
Yeah.
affecting my family moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can just make the choice to want to get to a better place, you've actually done a lot of the initial work
Yeah.
that will get you to healing.
Yeah.
If you want it, and then you take the next tiny right step, Lego sized choices, I always say, stacked on each other, will get you a surprising distance. And it is a hard thing to be a mom when you are not necessarily well loved. I was, so my story's a little different there, but I think of your mom and I think she formed a lot of her ideas about how the world was between 12 and whatever the teenage years that her mom went off the rails, right? So, of course, you had someone parenting from an emotionally immature place.
Sure.
And that's hard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I
And
serve a lot.
yet,
I serve a lot of moms who have mom wounds. So they're sandwiched in the middle of their own motherly stuff,
oh
and then
wow.
their kids. So they see it from both sides. They're getting it from both
Yeah.
sides.
So is that a really important component of mom healing, is to be aware of how you experienced being parented and how that might impact what you're doing now?
In a mature way, yes. So what happens
Yeah.
is these kids are doing this work, like you just said,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with doing work like that,
Sure.
but then they're
Sure.
holding it against the parent without even trying
Mm.
to understand. You know what? This is mom's first time at life too.
Yeah.
This is our one shot we get here. None of us are perfect. We all have different experiences and different influences. So we have,
Yeah.
like we talked about social media, but we have teachers, we have friends. In the very beginning years, like we're the only influence they have. That's why we have all that,
Right.
care and control and love. But
Sure.
then we got to like launch them into the world. And
With
with
a lot more.
with the internet, with all of everything out there, like it's a scary place sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's terrifying. You know, when you were talking about thinking about how your own family history impacted how you do it, and young adults who now are judging that and deciding if they think your parenting is appropriate for them or not. There's so much, because for us, a lot of when we thought about the parenting that we received and really tried to become empathetic, we did it, probably most of us, 30s, really 40s and beyond when we look back. And we have a lot more life experience to determine and to empathize with how our parents may have, parented us. But it's also interesting because in your 20s, I don't, maybe even 30s, I don't know that you really have great perspective yet to understand what your mom's experience was,
Right. Right.
because you kind of have to live for a little while to get that kind of deep empathy.
Yeah, agree. And so that is where, unfortunately, and I'm not against therapy, right? I'd have my
Hmm.
share, Lord knows. But you have to
And
be, if you're going to do that route,
yeah,
you have to vet these people very carefully, because the majority of therapists out there right now are dividing families.
mm.
They're basing it off of
you're
one.
seeing a lot of
I
that.
see it all the time.
Oh gosh.
That's how I know that the verbiage that these kids are using is almost identical. And I find out that these kids, yes, this one's in therapy. Yes, this one's in therapy. It's like there's just a common thread between social media, toxic parenting and real world therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you be okay if the kids aren't?
Yeah.
Uh, that is a thread that I read through and see and hear through all of your work. And if we leave women that have listened to this today, like with any message, isn't, I mean, that just seems like that's so important is that whatever happens, you need to be okay for you.
Mhm.
The rest is going to take care of itself. But
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So for the mom who, I hope to God you're not dealing with estrangement and you're
mhm,
raising kids and you're just trying to figure life out. Make sure you take time for yourself. Don't just be the parent. So I have a daughter who has two girls, and I'm so proud of her that she and her husband will go on date night. They'll go away for the weekend. Something I never
yeah,
did,
yeah,
right? But she takes time for herself as well, and she could be a better parent that way
yes,
too, right?
yeah,
And then it's not your
sure.
sole identity. So
Yes,
there's
that's
that.
really important.
Yeah, there's that aspect. And then for those of you that are like navigating a rocky relationship, I want you to think about, who do you want to become when they come back? Who do you want to become when that relationship is whole again? Because if you do
Mm,
have a child that has walked away or heading in that
hmm.
direction, that means
Yeah.
there's something's not right. We needed this authentic relationship of, who are you and who are they? And we
Hmm.
have to be able to come together in that, because they may not
Mm,
be who you dreamed they were going to be.
no, no. And it will become a gift in the end that they're
Yes.
not.
Right.
But I think for a lot of women, they had very specific expectations and
Mhm.
vision, and they're not willing to let that go.
To let go of
They
that.
remain rigid in their expectation.
Yeah.
Wow. Two things. One, when you said that there are kids in counseling right now that are maybe being encouraged to not get proper resolution as much as to just separate. I had a friend who had a daughter that need a sports physical, so she ran her in to get it. And now they take them into the pediatrician's office and they're given it's like a folder, but it asks questions about self-harm and sexuality and STDs, all kinds of things. And they don't want parents to see it. And they're very clear, this is private, which is all fine to a certain degree. But in this case, the daughter went in first, filled out the form. 45 minutes later, she was like, "Can I go in?" I was waiting to go in with her. I just let her go in first. And they said, "No, no, no, you need to wait." She ends up calling her husband. She's, "I don't know what's going on in there." And then a nurse came out and said to her, "Your daughter is," in a very shaming way, "Your daughter is really struggling with anxiety. And, I don't know how you couldn't have known this. And this is the worst anxiety I have ever seen." I was so disturbed by that I think I put it away in my head. But when you're talking, it makes me think, I wonder if that's more common than I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. Wow. That is a scary reality, all of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think it is. I do think it is. And that's why, and don't get me wrong, I also have clients whose kids are in therapy and they're
Hmm.
getting the help that they need. And maybe they do need a little bit of a break, but I get to
Yeah.
work with a mom during that time.
Hmm.
And then I get to see it come back together, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
The earlier we can
Yeah.
get to the core of this, the better, right? Some moms will
Yeah.
reach out to me after a week and some will wait 2 years. So
Yeah.
it depends
Just
on when I
dependent.
get them. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so beautiful because it's so important that we be healthy and restructured in who we are so that when the relationship comes back, and we don't do it for that reason, but when it comes back, we can meet it with our best self. Because probably most of us wanted to be our best self before everything went off the track into wackadoodle
Of
land,
course. Of course.
you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
you see a subject that has recently come up? I literally have two or three girlfriends struggling with this, and perhaps it's because of my age. Do you see a lot of not necessarily child estrangement, but estrangement or control over grandchildren being allowed access. Is that trending?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They use them as pawns, which is heartbreaking. But usually, if the child has walked away, I have a few cases where they will still let them see the grandkids,
Oh,
which is beautiful. That's how
thank God. Yeah,
unless there's for some other reason that I'm not aware of. To me, it's like that's how it should be, and then you work on the relationship with your mom.
sure.
But majority of them, no. They if they pull away, they take the kids too, and the
They
kids.
take the
Some of these
kids.
are at the age where they do grandma and grandpa, right? And they don't
Yeah. So it's a
understand.
loss.
It's a huge loss.
Yeah, I mean, grandparents have a very important place in if you're lucky enough to have them, in the constellation of a child's development and their ability to trust that there are more people in the world who love me and who root
Yeah.
for me. And to deny them that
Yeah,
is
so sad.
harsh. It's super sad. Wow. Well, given like what we've talked about and what you know about the scope of estrangement, what do you want women who are listening to this and either are struggling with this or trying to support somebody who's struggling with this? What's like the one thing, or maybe two or three, that you really want them to know?
Well, number one is a support system. You have got to be surrounding yourself with people who can help you. And sometimes it's not your best friend, and sometimes it's not even your spouse. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean you don't ever talk about it with them, but like I did, I didn't isolate per se. I told everybody. So what happened was it interfered with my friendships. You know, right? My
Oh,
marriage was affected because I was on such a one-track mind that I could
mm-hmm.
never have a conversation with anybody without bringing it up. That because that's all I thought about.
Mm,
So I was so hyper focused on what I didn't have that I was not even taking a look at the children I did have and the brand new granddaughter I did have.
wow.
Not that I
Yeah.
wasn't present, but not like I should have been.
No. Mm-hmm.
But when you have your oldest daughter look at you and say, "What about me? I didn't go anywhere." Like, I will never forget that moment. And it was heartbreaking. But I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. So be very mindful of when you're having these challenges with one child, keep your relationships with your kids separate and don't intertwine them. Don't talk to your other kids about the one that's doing this, that, or the other thing. Again, not to say it's never going to come up, but don't let them be your confidant because that's not their job. And they will end up resenting you for it. Hate to say it,
Yeah.
but it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it is hard when you have more than one
Yeah.
and one of the mix goes off the rails or, leaves the reservation, however you want to voice that.
Yeah.
It's so hard to try to still make some degree of normalcy for those who are still having regular life
Right.
overall
Right.
and to be fully present. And it is hard not to be hyper focused, but that's a great tip that if you are struggling with this issue, to be aware of if and where you are hyper focused
Yeah.
because you will fatigue people around you.
100%. I lost friends for sure.
Aw,
Yeah. But I get it. I get it. I wasn't fun to be around. Let's face it.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
community is so
Well, I mean, you
huge.
were spiraling.
I was spiraling. Yeah, for sure. So
Mm,
that would be my best
mm.
recommendation. That support system is huge.
I love that. I love that. And do you find, because you deal with so many families that are navigating estrangement, overall, is there a trend towards estrangement panning out in some way where families come back together? And we leave room for various degrees of reattachment there, but overall, do you see that being the outcome, or are you seeing trend that it's just irrevocable?
No, I see so many families reunite. I see so many families come back together, and that is a journey of its own. Like the journey of
Yeah,
reconciliation is like it's baby steps. You know, the mom will get so excited. We get a touch point. That's what I call it. We get a touch point,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that touch point is not going to be the end all be all. We've still got work to do. And so I'm
Yeah.
so blessed to help them in their pain and getting them stronger. But then I'm so
Yeah.
blessed to be able to help them navigate that part too when that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a
Yeah.
lot of it happen during our time together, and then sometimes I'll get an email later saying, "You're never going to believe this." So
Uh,
it's just beautiful.
yeah. I love it. I hope that if there are families who are dealing with estrangement right now and you're listening to this and your heart is broken because of going through it, I hope that you're encouraged that there is possible light at the end of this tunnel. And it may not come in the timing that you thought or in the way that you thought, but that doesn't mean it's not possible
Right.
at all. It's okay to have hope. Frame it,
100%.
frame it well, but hold it.
Yes. Yeah. Someone asked me this weekend if you had to go, do this all over again, would you?
Yeah.
And I said, yes. As
Oh,
much
wow.
pain I would, because it's made me who I am.
Mm,
I have changed so much. I just would never, ever, ever want my daughter to go through what she went through again.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
That's the
is
only part you wouldn't.
right.
Yeah. Spoken like a true mother. I think about how extraordinary it is that even our worst, most shameful, painful, awful, stupid choices. Why did I do that? Why did I not see that? When you come back with a good heart and you're willing to be honest and you're willing to be a fair broker on these matters, how much it can be redeemed and made into something so much finer if you're willing to learn
Right.
from what happened.
Right. Absolutely.
There's a path of such redemption and healing there. Oh, I love that. And I love that you're able to share that with people, that that can be your mission now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I being able to walk with moms, whether it's one-on-one or it's in a group capacity. Like I said, they just need support system, whether it's me or someone else. They don't try to do
Yeah.
this alone. Don't try to do this alone. And now I've started doing mediation.
Oh,
So
wow.
by invitation only, I have to work with these
Mhm.
moms one-on-one first so that I can get a clear understanding and also where they're at. And then if I feel that it's a good fit, then I will move them on to the next part,
Oh,
phase two in
wow.
that. But yeah, so that's been beautiful
I
too.
mean, what a beautiful offering. May I ask how old are you?
I'm 56.
Okay, good. The reason why is because pretty much anybody listening to this podcast is going to be around that age anyway. And kind of what I love here is that I'm going to guess that when you were young and you thought out your life, you did not anticipate that you would be running a full time, I don't know if it's full time, but a full fledged support, counseling, coaching, loving, faithful. This is a mission, a
Yeah,
ministry for you.
yeah, it is.
And it was the gift of your midlife that you didn't see coming.
Right, right. Best job I
Is
never
it
thought I'd ever
sweeter?
have, right? Like yeah, it doesn't get any more
Best job
rewarding
I
than
never
this.
thought I'd have.
Yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, I just want to cheer for you. I find that super inspiring and exciting. And I know how much good you do. And I just want you to know, Sally Harris, I'm rooting for you because
Oh,
I
thanks,
know
Tami.
that you're going to touch so many people. If folks want to find you, where are some good, it's going to make me cry. Where are some places they can find you?
I would say YouTube is probably the best. If you're going YouTube, it's under Sally Harris Coach, or you just type in Sally Harris. It's the name of my channel is my full name. I'm
Okay.
on Instagram and Facebook, same place.
Sally Harris Coach.
Yeah. And
Nice.
my
Nice.
website is sally-harris.com.
Sally-harris.com, your website. It's a great website, actually. I
Thank
think
you.
it's a good resource. And I 1,000% recommend her YouTube because like I said, I got a surprising amount. I don't even have a family estrangement issue. And I got a lot of information that I could use that would make my life better quality. And
Oh, that's good.
I don't know that there's anything better that people can do than to support other people to live their best life and to live stronger and healthier. And I'm just so glad you're out there doing this, Sally Harris. I hope that everybody who has listened today feels as inspired and edified as I do right now, and grateful that there is somebody like Sally out there who's doing good and spreading the word. And if you know somebody who this message, they need to hear it, please share this with them. Let them know. We appreciate you being here today, and thank you for listening. I'm so grateful you listened to this episode. I hope it was a real value to you. If there's a sister in your life who needs this message, please share it, just like women have done to lift each other up over the centuries and across cultures. Women lifting each other is so important. It's why I do this work. And to avoid FOMO and keep up leveling your own life, make sure you don't miss the next episode. You may be losing hormones, but your life has given you powerful perspective. And I believe you have something to give that no one else does, that the world needs. So remember, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.